What happened in Czech Republic in 1953?
The Prime Minister announces the monetary reform, and basically what happened that people had to exchange their banknotes for new currency that got printed. They only had 1 month to do that, and the exchange rates were insane. Literally, people would lose more than 90% of everything they owned.
That's where Bitcoin makes so much sense.
Exactly.
Matej Zak, the CEO of Trezor,
creators of the first hardware wallet and BIP39, leading efforts to make Bitcoin accessible
while upholding security, privacy, and open source.
Can you explain Trezor to your mom?
I like the analogy of keys from your home, something that you only should have access to because Trezor protects private keys from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. The Bitcoin doesn't live in the Trezor itself, but you need to save these keys to have an access to your assets on the chain.
What is self-custody in Bitcoin and crypto?
True ownership.
True ownership. What does that mean?
There is no intermediary. You have the full right to move the funds anytime, anywhere as you wish. You have the power to do it. You don't have to ask permission.
Why does Trezor need 200 people to create and sell a USB stick?
If it was just a USB stick, you could probably outsource it. But here we are talking about a pretty advanced security device that has been tested from all different angles to make sure that even if somebody gets hold of this device physically, they would not be able to extract those private keys. Therefore, they could not get to your Bitcoin and crypto.
What really goes into the creation of a device like that?
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Tell me more about the blood, sweat, and tear.
Of course. So,
hi everyone, this is the little bit that I know none of you like that can help us make a huge difference for this show, and we want to take it next. 71% of the people who regularly watch When Shift Happens have not subscribed. And so all I'd ask you, if you want to make a huge difference, is the following. If you've seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team, hit the subscribe button, and we'll continue to build this show for you. Thank you.
oh yeah, the weather is shit now. Like, actually,
it's October. It's normal, right? October, November
Yeah,
is
it's
like the worst weather in Europe in general. In Switzerland, it's the same.
yeah,
People usually leave. In November. I remember when I was in Switzerland for a year to build a company, and November you go to Bali or you just like go somewhere else.
You mentioned you're original from Switzerland, right? You're
I'm Swiss. I'm
Yeah.
Swiss. Yeah.
From which part, if you don't mind me asking? I forgot.
So originally from
French
Valais.
part. Yeah,
Which
that's what I thought because I go to Valais all the time
For skiing or?
for flying, the paraglider, and climbing because that's the biggest concentration of the 4,000 meter peaks, which I'm collecting all of those. So.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I've done paragliding also there too.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
with my dad actually like very long time ago.
in Fiège, maybe.
No, we were it's called Les Portes du Soleil.
Okay.
It's where, usually you go there to ski. So you have Champéry, Les Creusets, Champoussin, and then you have quite like good slopes on the Swiss side. But then if you go on the French side, it's like 650 kilometers of slopes.
Nice.
So we went there with my family. We've been going there like since I'm like 3 or 4 years old, every weekend of every winter
Nice.
to ski. And then sometimes my parents have like some chalet and flats there. And
It's a dream for me.
and sometimes in summer we would go, but more with my dad. I would go like a couple of days with my dad, and we would do mountain biking.
Nice.
And I think, I don't remember if it's because the weather, probably not. But one day maybe we were just like too tired of biking or whatever. So, because we would do the bike without help, right? Without whatever, electric bike or whatever. So you go for like 2 hours up and then you go down for like 10 minutes. And then he said, yeah, I have a surprise for you. And then we did this paragliding, and it was fucking awesome. Like
That's awesome.
he pulls at some point he says, hey, do you want to get some G's like in your face? But it's going to go much
spiral,
faster. And then you just like, he pulls the thing and then you just go down.
Yeah.
And ballet is amazing.
I love it. I mean, it's my dream sort of place where I wish I could at some point like a purchase, something. I know you guys don't like allow for Europeans to purchase like property there as much, or maybe some areas, but it's like my dream area.
It's not allowed, or it's just max one? I think it's maximum one.
I think some places like the Sastal, like Sasfe and stuff. I think it's not even allowed. Or maybe some crazy, like if you invest, like a couple million, then but that's not me. I would not be able to do that. But like, yeah, I think
we invest only in digital real estate, Bitcoin, no physical one yet. In a couple of years,
Yeah,
it's going to be 1 or 2 Bitcoin to buy one of these SaaS-fed properties.
Hopefully. But I love it. I mean, I'm there every year since, because actually, when I was like small, my brother had some issues with like lungs, and he was treated in the hospitals. Luckily, it's all good now. But the hospital will organize trips to Valais, like to climb there and run in the mountains. And I've done that since the age, I don't know, between maybe 6 to 12 or something. Every year, every summer, we would go there. And I fell in love with this place. And now in my adult age, I started coming back. And every year I'm there at least twice because I really love it.
Yes, I'm originally from there, but I didn't grow up there. I grew up in Bern. I'm in Canton Bern, so like a small village.
Nice as well, yeah.
It's very nice too.
I like Bern a lot.
Yeah. Village beside the lake, 5,000 people.
Nice.
Not very famous for climbing or skiing, but amazing to grow up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful area, and the Bernese Oberland is awesome as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Switzerland in general, like I would say, I never really appreciated that side of it because I was probably kind of blasé. You know, like you go to ski so much, at some point you're like, I don't want to ski again this weekend.
I wish I had this problem.
Like it's terrible, like to think about it, right?
Yeah, and of course, I love skiing.
And then like you go, for my 20s, I was just building businesses in London and then a bit in Geneva, Dubai, Singapore. And I was just not thinking about, I go to a city, I'm like, was maybe like thinking about where do I go party, right? That's it.
Right.
Or, and now I started to realize again, I went to Switzerland this summer and I was like, holy shit, the nature is so incredible.
Exactly.
I've been to I live in Asia. You can go all around. It's like incredible, but like the Swiss nature is like second to none, I think.
It is.
Like literally, it's the best.
It is so beautiful and so amazing,
I just think many Swiss people actually don't go that much, right? First, it's very expensive. Second, probably but because it's your home, you don't go that much touristing. Where you're, let's go to Spain, let's go to France, let's go to other places.
I think it's called the hedonistic adaptation. Like you get so much of the good stuff that you don't even appreciate it.
Maybe. But again, like Prague. We're here in Prague now. Beautiful city, actually. Where are you from?
I was born like 50 kilometers west from Prague, but yeah, most of my adult life I spent here. I went to the school here, to high school, like the music high school, which was pretty intense and like time wise. So we were in the school all the time practicing, and so Prague is basically home.
Who are you?
I am Matej. That's how you would pronounce my name. It's quite hard. I go by John in Starbucks usually.
I was actually thinking before, I was like, Matej, John is good. I like it.
Yeah, to make it easier for people.
Why John?
I mean, it felt like something I also could pronounce well myself because I'm not always a native speaker in English. So making it easier for me as well, I guess. Yeah, so I'm Matej Zak. I currently lead, I guess you could say, the Trezor team, which makes me super proud, especially these days. And I'm a climber, paraglider, or paragliding pilot, musician as well, and product manager. I think it's the main sort of my professional focus has been always making products. And I like to think of myself as a sort of entrepreneur as well, because I think at least my definition of entrepreneurship is basically fixing problems in the world, aligning people around those, and finding the solutions. So, which honestly I've always done. I don't know even why, but even since childhood, I love to fix kind of problems. So,
you said I'm the CEO of Trezor, which makes me proud, especially these days. Why, especially these days?
So we have, I think, pretty big milestone of a launch that happened just yesterday. And I'm so proud because literally the whole company has united and pushed so hard around like delivering on the deadlines, on the milestones, on the product quality, on the marketing quality in terms of the production of the event that we've made. We've never made an event this big and this impactful, and everybody was like ecstatic. I felt like, and I'm so proud of the whole team, because there's so much like passion, and people are so excited to really deliver pretty unique quality and unique experiences. So that makes me really, really proud.
You're not the co-founder of Trezor.
I'm not, yeah.
You said I'm a product manager. You started as a product manager at Trezor 7 years ago. What does that say about the company? That you can start as a product manager 7 years ago and then became, I think, the CEO 3 or 4 years ago?
I'm finishing my 3rd year, correct. We are product-led. I think that's what it says about the company. We just recently, for example, put together an official company strategy, which, by the way, we didn't have for many years, like officialized. Of course, like we know what we are doing, we know why we do it. But as we grew, we realized we need to make it more official, because new people are coming and they maybe don't understand exactly why we are doing what we are doing. So that's something I learned in the last year, that it is really helpful. And I can tell that this strategy is basically very much product driven. It is not, the opposite could be, it is business driven, right? Like you look at channels, you look at new business opportunities. But I think we look at it through the lens of, again, what kind of problems are there in the world and how we can fix them. And so those pillars, those both problems and solutions that we already think about are actually pillars of the actual strategy. So so I think we are pretty much product driven. I think that's also the reason why I specifically became the CEO in the end, because I worked very closely with the founders. I started again the company 7 years ago, and I've been working with them closely basically every week, ever since, right? So every week we have like one-on-ones and stuff. And they're product people themselves. They're technical as well. They're engineers, but they're very much thinking in the sort of product ways. And that's, I think, why sort of our energy and a synergy worked quite well, because we speak the same language.
Quick one. I want to thank our partners who help us make this show possible. I'd like to thank our friends at Jupiter, the most used decentralized trading platform on Solana and the largest DAO in the world. Thank you to our friends at Paradex. It's official Perps Dex season, and we've teamed up with Paradex, the leading perpetuals decentralized exchange with zero fees, deep liquidity, and privacy. Their season 2 runs through the end of January, so you do not want to miss that one. In addition, their flagship NFT collection drops in Q4 this year, and we're giving you a chance to get one. Supply is limited, so hurry up and use the link below to get on the waiting list. And last but not least, thank you to Mental, a pioneering on-chain economy dedicated to revolutionizing the future of finance and blockchain scalability, and that seamlessly bridges traditional finance and decentralized finance.
What does that mean to be product-driven instead of business-driven for a company, concretely? Does it mean that you're leaving money on the table? Does it mean that you don't care about the money, which obviously is not the case? Like, what does it concretely mean?
It means that
and is it really real? Or it's something that a company that is building a great product kind of has to say for people to believe the story? Because at the end of the day, a business is a business.
Totally.
You have employees. I think you have about 200 employees. You need to pay them. You need to make a profit. Otherwise, the company doesn't survive. It's a tough industry with a lot of up and down.
Absolutely. Let me be clear. I'm a capitalist, right? I really believe in making money and applying the profits and the earnings into, again, fixing problems in the world. So that's, I think, the entrepreneurship and the capitalist kind of view. But that being said, I think the product way is focused mainly on finding these problems. It is sometimes, as you say, leaving money on the table. but for sort of bigger vision that ultimately gets more people into the industry or into our products because they are really superior to what the customers could find on the market, both in direct competitors and substitutions. So what I mean by that is you focus around the experiences, around the problems, and not necessarily looking it through ways, oh, we would need to make another $20 million next quarter or next year or whatever. That's not the original question. The original question is, what are our customers or potential customers struggling with today that we can fix in a really an amazing, innovative way? And by the quality of the product, persuade them to give us the money for us to give them the product. So I think that's the difference. And I strongly believe, especially in our industry, that's the better way how to look at it. Not the business first, but the product first. With one maybe exception, because I also like this. I have the saying, people, product, profit, in this order. I read it in the book, by the way. It's not but I totally subscribed to it.
People, product, profit. Can you explain?
What I mean by this, you need amazing people. You need to really get people that are smarter than me, more experienced than me, even more expensive than me in some regards. Like in terms of, I really believe this is important because if I would be just looking for somebody that I can manage easily, whatever, but they would not add more value than I or my closest colleagues in the C-level would add, then it would be like a death spiral, right? Like that would not work. So I think it really starts with people, and that's a big part of my job is really to take care of people in the way that, I mean, they need to, of course, have the right environment to deliver amazing job, but also find the right people, because sometimes companies call themselves families. I don't think it's the case. It's more of a sport team, right? Because if you're a coach of an ice hockey team, as an example, because ice hockey is big in Czech Republic, you have guys that, I mean, hold the stick like this, and the other ones maybe hold it like this, and it's good for the wings, right? To have, because they can work more efficiently on the sides or whatever. And that's exactly how we would think as a coach. You will find maybe a big guy in the defense, some smaller, nimble guy up front, and that's how you would try to build a team together. And that's a big part of the job, like to kind of figure this out. Not being nice to each other just because we are like a family, because if you have a sick member in a family or whatever, you take care of them, of course, and of course we take care of our people as well. But it's more of a sport team, less of a family. So that's people, and then product. That's the second. Because again, like that was the product-led approach that I described. And only then you take care of profit. Because if you have an amazing product, then the profits will come.
It is not a luxury to have. I'm thinking about the founders who started the company, and they might not have had this luxury in the beginning. You're kind of like juggling between these different things. You're like, okay, ideally, I mean, actually, I can think about for example, this podcast, right? It's kind of the same. You think about what's the best for us. The product is each podcast, right? How do we get the best guests, the best conversation, the best production quality to make the industry look good and to make the guests and their company look good? Which, by the way, you said, especially in this industry, right? If you do this way, you just stand out, because there's so much shit in this industry that people will see, oh, these people are focused on quality. So absolutely. But I'm thinking about when you start the company, it's probably less easy to say people, product, profit, because you need to survive.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes hand in hand. And when I say that, for example, I am still involved in product management, the core function of what's called product management is to connecting business, connecting user experience, and connecting the technology, right? So it's like this Venn diagram where in the middle it's where the business happens, or where the actual product delivery happens. And so you need totally all those. You need the business as well. And it's true that especially for us as a company, I from my experience, when I joined, it was like 30 people, right? So quite small. And we were struggling so badly when we were trying to scale up to find like really good talent. We would have to go maybe to headhunters, etc., and it would be quite hard, quite expensive, etc. Today, when we just post a job, do a job post, we get 30 relevant candidates in the next 12 hours, which is amazing, right? So, and that's the power of the brand. That's the power that's really important as well. And that only happens, after the years and years. So we didn't have this luxury when I started, for sure. So that was the challenge, but I think that's also, I guess, the beauty of the entrepreneurial journey.
Trezor is a very technical company at heart, doing security in crypto. When did the company or the founders understand that the brand was really important?
I think they always understood it. At least the way I know the story from what they told me, they didn't expect this to be, a successful business almost, right? They were fixing their own needs, fixing their own problems with how do we store and protect, our private keys, and how do we do it in a way that is easy for us to manage, and etc. And then because of the principles, and I think because of their honestly moral code and moral standards that they hold, they're pretty strict about this. The brand kind of built itself, right? So, for example, the ethos of Bitcoin and the open source nature and the transparency and the kind of responsible disclosures that we are doing if we find any vulnerability even in our products, I think that's something that contributes to the brand immensely, and it's super important for security, right? So I think they understood it early on, and I think we've seen it hundreds of times where these principles actually only made us more sure, or basically made us sure that it really makes sense to go that way. And so in some way, you could almost argue then it's kind of easy to see what the brand should be about because we have these positive experiences and feedbacks from the community if we are transparent, open source, etc.
Can you explain Trezor to your mom?
I like the analogy of keys from your home or your car, something that you only should have access to, or maybe your closest ones. And I think that's the best analogy. It's like actual physical keys because Trezor protects private keys from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. The Bitcoin doesn't live in the Trezor itself, of course. It's a chain, it's a blockchain, but you need to save these keys to have an access to your assets on the chain. So yeah, I like this analogy, and it usually clicks with people, with my mom included.
We're recording this conversation from Prague. The HQ of Trezor is here in Prague.
Yes.
Why was Trezor born in Prague?
I asked myself the same question before the keynote of our new premium product that we've just launched. Because there are so many Bitcoin companies in the Czech Republic. It's not just us.
Why are there so many Bitcoin companies in Czech Republic?
And exactly, I was asking myself, how is this possible? And then since we invited a lot of hosts from all over the world, a lot of guests, I was thinking, well, maybe they would wonder as well. Maybe you should have, answer to this question. Because that was the first hardware wallet, the first mining pool. There's a huge conference that is Bitcoin only, biggest in Europe. There's ATMs. There is, the mining companies. There are a lot of educators. I mean, we have a YouTuber Bitcoin only YouTuber that has now rebranded to more broader topics, but he was Bitcoin only up until now. And it's a country of 10 million people, and he has more than 100,000 subscribers. Like in such a small country. It's like a secret club. Nobody even speaks the language. I mean, just us, it's not that you could open to other markets in the local language. So I was asking this question. And the short answer is, I think the era of the communism and the oppression and the lack of freedoms that we experienced, because there is pretty strong sort of skepticism with the government, with the establishment. We are really not that sort of people that would generally trust anything we hear and say. I just recently posted this in the company that I think we are not, just as a theory, I don't think we are like a huge on, for example, motivational speeches or something like this. We are more like, why exactly are you trying to like hype me, or why you are saying, like a bit skepticism towards pretty much anything. So I believe it is actually in the many years, basically 50 years of oppressions and the communism, and including the monetary reform that we experienced, and when people lost all their savings basically overnight.
Can you explain that? I think it was 1953.
Exactly.
What happened in Czech Republic in 1953?
So there were other countries in the Europe and the Soviet Union that were experiencing, they were basically going bankrupt, right? So it was after the Second World War. The economic situation was not good, like generally, but also the communists kind of seized the power, right? And in Czech Republic especially as well. And there were other countries that were doing these sort of monetary reforms. So they would introduce new currencies or some hyperinflations happen, etc. And that happened here as well, where exactly the story goes that the president, because there was this unrest in the population, it could be felt by everybody. So the president decided to go on national radio, and he said, "Don't worry, there's not going to be any monetary reform. This is not going to happen." Just to calm everybody down. The next day, after the banks closed, the shop closed, because they wanted to prevent like run on banks and grocery stores, etc.
In crypto, we have a meme for that. We call it steady lads.
Yeah, it was incredible. So next day, literally after everything closed, the prime minister announces the monetary reform, and the next morning, the newspaper actually also prints, because it was like a state-owned newspaper, you would not have competition there at all in media. Announces the monetary reform, and basically what happened, that people had to exchange their money, their banknotes for new currency that got printed. They only had 1 month to do that, and the exchange rates were insane. It was like literally people would lose more than 90% of everything they owned, right? So if you had cash, you would have to transfer it to new money, and you would get just like tiny percent. Life insurances, state bonds, and stuff like that was actually voided completely, and simply it disappeared, right? So billions of Czechoslovak korunas were wiped out from the market. Until this day, when I was preparing for the keynote, because I thought it was an important story, I also interviewed my grandparents, right? So, and they could still totally feel it. In my family, the communists took away a lot of the assets that the family had. My grandfather, his family, there's still like a lake that actually has a name of the family. It was just taken away from them. And then the savings, again, the money in the monetary reform was taken away. And yeah, they still remember it, right? So it's not something like you would hear, oh, it's a history lesson or whatever. No, there are actually people that you can still talk about this.
It's something that you learned at school? History?
Yeah, we do. And in school, I think there's a quite... But depends on which school and how, but in general, yeah, it gets into the classrooms. But I think we mostly learn it from our families, honestly, because I have so many stories. I mean, they hated the communists because they couldn't travel. It was honestly, when I was studying for, again, like doing this prep, this research, it gets you so fucking angry. I was reading and I was like, how the fuck is this possible? They were like crooks, basically. They were not even educated. They didn't know anything about the economy, right? So, and by the way, when they introduced this monetary reform, the communists, the elite sort of, gave themselves better rates, or even didn't have any rates. So actually, they even had the money, like a one-on-one or so, like, and the same rate, and yet they let the working class and stuff, and these people they had to exchange it. So it was like, yeah, fucking crooks.
Quick one. I want to thank our partners who help us make this show possible. Big thank you to Bitwise Asset Management for backing today's conversation. Bitwise is a crypto specialist asset manager with more than $15 billion in client assets across 30 plus crypto solutions, including ETFs, index funds, alpha strategies, staking, and more. However you like to invest in crypto, Bitwise has something for you. Thank you to our friends at Sui for supporting this show. Sui is a scalable layer 1 blockchain that's fast, secure, and affordable, built by previous Facebook developers, and that delivers the benefits of Web3 with the ease of Web2. Thank you to Story Protocol, the IP layer of the internet, for supporting today's conversation. Story is building an open system for creators to register, manage, and grow their IP on-chain. Whether you're building words, stories, or characters, Story Protocol gives you the tools to protect and expand your creative universe. To support this show, please check the sponsor links in the description down below.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's someone somewhere who made a decision, okay, this is going to happen, and no human brain can understand the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And if you extrapolate to today, are people really way smarter? Or do we still have people who make decisions that will have some impact that is unquantifiable because it's just too complicated for a human brain to understand and anticipate, right? If you think about the current system that we have in place. And so that's where I would say, if you're someone who naturally questions everything, that's where Bitcoin makes so much sense.
Exactly.
When you read the Bitcoin Standard by Saif Dinamus, you just realize, holy shit.
Exactly.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah,
like, it's
Exactly. I think it's like a must read. Exactly. The Bitcoin Standard is a great example. And maybe I would love to give another one that I, again, like recently read because of me trying to understand it a little bit more. And that's from Ray Dalio, Why Countries Go Broke. It's like a book that he recently published. And it's not about Bitcoin at all. I mean, he mentions Bitcoin maybe a couple of times because he was, I think, the critic as well. But he came to understand store value, like, okay, Bitcoin works there. So it's not about Bitcoin, but you read it and you're like Bitcoin fixes this, like on almost every page. You're like, it's like, it's so clear.
Can you explain in a nutshell this book, Why Country? I mean, can you answer the question?
Yeah, so
Why countries go broke?
Pretty complex. There are a lot of graphs and stuff like that. I'm not an expert. I'm not an economist, but in a nutshell, is countries get ton of debt. They get leveraged. And also in the private sector. So usually it would go in a way that the private sector would go leverage. There will be bubbles, for example, or some catastrophes like climate change or whatever. Like it could start like that. Then the countries run to help the private sector because it was, for example, again, leverage or whatever. Then the countries run out of money as well because also they have debts internationally. Then they mismanage this debt and they need to print more money. And there we go, right? So they print more money, they devaluate they inflate the money, and then it's like a big vicious circle that ultimately can lead into a bankruptcy, which is exactly what happened here. Well, literally, it cannot really. He says the bankruptcy can officially happen, unlike in the private sector, because the money can the state can print more money. But if they do it in an extreme way, such as that the hyperinflation would happen, or extreme taxation, because that's either way, then you get into these problems, right? And you're like, well, yeah, Bitcoin is a good solution here.
And it's happening today everywhere.
And that's the crazy part, because then, exactly. So I asked myself this question, why Czech Bitcoiners, and there's this amazing story, very sad story about the 1953 monetary reform. And then you study some more and you're like, okay, can this still happen today? And you realize, well, there are dozens of countries that this is happening, that are living this through today, right? And then it's crazy. Also, the private sector, again, as we talked about, this vicious cycle. So I checked how many banks went out of business in the last 100 years, like private banks globally, and it's somewhere between 20 and 30,000.
Which banks are supposed to be safe, right?
Exactly. So it's like, I couldn't believe this number. So I checked, I mean, it's AI, like a research as well. And then I checked with some economists as well. And they were like, yeah, it's about right. I was like, what the hell is it possible? And in this century, in like the last 25 years, the number is somewhere between like 700 and 1,000 banks, mostly in US and Europe as well. So it's not even low and middle income countries, right? So, and then you are thinking, well, so it's like happening today as well. It's not just a history lesson.
And there's not supposed to be that many banks, right? So it's not like a small fraction of all the banks. And on the top of that, you add the classic things we always talk about in crypto, in Bitcoin, which is the average lifespan of a fiat currency, 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that if you look at the strongest ones, Swiss franc or US dollar, I think Swiss franc is down like 80% over the last 100 years. US dollar probably 90 plus, 95%.
Mm-hmm.
So you put all this stuff together and you realize that there is a problem even in the best countries and the best currencies in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And then
it's kind of, I'm always thinking about, for example, my girlfriend, she doesn't think about all this stuff. She's not stressed.
Yeah.
Like I'm always freaking every decision I make, investing, whatever, I think about that. And I don't know what's worse, like to not care about that or to not stress or to be always anxious because you understand all that shit, right?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, when you say it, I recently had an uncomfortable sort of conversation with somebody who used to be dear to me. And they said something like, oh, you're into crypto, I'm not that much interested, or something in this topic. And I was like, and it hurt me a little bit, because in a way it's like, well, we are talking about self-custody and we are talking about Bitcoin, and then we are talking about crypto. Those are very different topics. And here we are now talking mainly about, I would say, the Bitcoin and the self-custody. That's where I think it really is freedom technology, but why it sort of hurt me in this specific case is like, because they are kind of oblivious to the fact that that the world has these kind of problems and that there are solutions to this.
Yeah, they're obvious to the fact that they're screwed.
Yeah. But it's actually, so it like hurts a little bit, but on the other side, and I'm thinking it's exactly why we should do this job. And it motivates me so much. It's like, let's explain this to more people and let's persuade more people by, again, amazing products that they should care about Bitcoin and self-custody, right?
Let's explain this to people.
Let's.
What is self-custody in Bitcoin and crypto? Explain simply.
True ownership is the short answer.
True ownership. What does that mean?
There's no intermediary. You have the full right to move the funds anytime, anywhere as you wish. You have the power to do it. You don't have to ask permissions.
Let's get back to the 1953 example and say that Bitcoin exists.
Great point.
What's the difference? Let's say you're there. There's your grandpa there and there is you there. He doesn't know Bitcoin. He doesn't know it exists. You know Bitcoin. It exists in 1953. He gets screwed overnight. 90% of the wealth gone. What do you do? And how does it make a difference to your life if you understand Bitcoin and self-custody in that specific moment?
Perfect. It's a good way to look at it. So if Bitcoin was around, it is a non-sort of governmental money. It is not tied to the Czechoslovak government. And if the Czechoslovak government, so to speak, goes broke, well, Bitcoin wouldn't feel it. It wouldn't impact the price probably much.
Well, the price in the local currency would probably explode in terms of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, true. But in the sense, like in the local currency, true. But like what I meant is like Bitcoin wouldn't care really. And
your
then
purchasing power would stay the same.
Yes. And so that's one. So it's not tied to specifically Czechoslovak government in any way. That's number one. Number two, even if you had Bitcoin in, let's say, an ETF as an example, that would be somehow in some governmental funded fund or some manager of that kind, you would still lose it.
So you could have a Bitcoin ETF managed by the Czechoslovak government.
Somehow, as an example, you would still lose it, or it could be in a, let's say, even bank that would, get the license to purchase Bitcoin or whatever, and you would trust some intermediary, no matter the entity, right? So, but you would entrust the entity. Well, the government at that time had full power of anything. Like all the industries were nationalized. There were only 3% of private companies that contributed to the GDP. So tiny amount of private businesses, you would think, maybe bakers, local pubs, etc. So everything was like state-owned. So if you, again, and as an example, people even buy state-issued bonds, and the state said, well, gone, no longer any value. So even if Bitcoin was there, well, they would confiscate it. So, and that's where exactly self-custody comes in, because you would have the full control of your private keys. And the state would not have any power to take that away from you. And by the way, they would not even know, because Trezor, as a specific example, or any hardware wallet in the sense, there's no KYC. So they would not even know that you own it, right? So that's the huge difference.
Okay. So your grandpa would have taken all his money, converted to Bitcoin when he started to smell that shit was hitting the fan. Usually when someone says everything's going to be fine, nothing will happen, this means things are bad, something will happen, right? Convert all the money or wealth into Bitcoin, which means this money is not going to be affected no matter what happens locally, right? But then on the top, put all this Bitcoin on a Trezor wallet, because then it means it's my money and it's not in a bank or something where the government can seize it.
Exactly.
And with this combination of my own money, but owned in my own Swiss bank account in my pocket, Trezor, sort of, then I'm safe, right? But if I don't have the combination of both, I lose everything.
Exactly. And I think the story there for today is these things still happen. History does repeat itself. Again, it's even in Ray Dalio talks about it a lot in all his writings. So it's not even subjective feeling or whatever. It's like it's pure facts. Like if you study the history, the cycles in the economy happen all the time, and banks going out of business, countries fail. So it applies today as much as it did.
Yeah. We said before, average fiat currency lifespan is 27 years.
Yeah.
Which means that on average, currency is dying after 27 years. Which means that if you live 100 years, you can have 4 different currencies in your country that always kind of start from scratch again. What does uncompromising self-custody for everyone mean?
We like to say that self-custody is an equation where security is multiplied by privacy and it's multiplied by usability. I'll try to explain. If you remove any of those 3 from the equation, security, privacy, usability, you don't have proper self-custody in a way, because it kind of crumbles. And the uncompromising means, in this sentence, means that we don't want to do any security compromises. For example, as we started our discussion around the business, right? Let's do as an example, let's do hot wallet, because there's money on the table. There are companies that are doing hot wallets. Could we do hot wallet do we have enough engineers and smart people to do that? For sure. Not a big problem for us as a technological company.
What's a hot wallet?
Hot wallet is
difference between hot and cold wallet.
So hot wallets are those that store the private keys somewhere online. You can think about it on server, or it's somewhere it sits on your phone, and it's not disconnected from the internet. Where the hardware wallet does exactly this, so it's not connected.
So hot wallet would be a Phantom, a MetaMask,
exactly,
and that kind of wallets, right?
Yes.
Which a lot of people probably, when they join crypto, they just say, "Oh, cool! I can download this app on my phone and just start using crypto."
Exactly,
and they hold their money there. Exactly. What's the problem with that?
The problem is that the hacks on these apps and providers happen all the time, and security, we like to say, is a moving target. So even if you get better at it as a company, as somebody who takes security seriously, the hackers will always come, and they're not necessarily one step ahead, but they will get to the point where they will be able to do it. This year, you would say crypto, Bitcoin has been around for 15 years, or more, 16. Yes, 16. Sorry. And you would say, well, we would figure out the security thing a long time ago, no? Well, the biggest hack happened this year, right? In 2005, the biggest hack of the history in the industry, on a huge custodian, which stored the.
We actually had Ben from Bybit 2 days after the hack happened on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So. Yeah, but he was pretty chill. He came in the studio with his flip flop, and he was like, "Yeah." I actually asked him like, "How long do you need to recover all this money?" And then he was saying, "You're basically asking me how much I make, right?" And I was like, "Pretty much." And he said, "Yeah, probably a year, a bit more than a year, to recover 1.5 billion." So crazy times. But yeah, it's true. It's 16 years in, right? And it happens. And the bigger the industry, the more money, the bigger the hacks, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And just to be clear, and to be fair, this hack, it's a problem of, they happen on the big custodians, obviously, because that's the bigger honeypot, right? But this hack specifically, there were even some cold storages involved, right? So it was not a hot wallet, just to make that super clear. It's a different problem because it's a massive honeypot. So you will get much greater sort of how to say
engineering of a way to hack the thing.
Exactly. Right. There's much bigger pots. So you basically have more people trying to steal it from you. But I just use that as an example that the security will always sort of be a sort of risk. And again, that's why we exist. But back to the question, so hot wallets are definitely the sort of least secure in that sense. And cold storages, are way more secure. So the uncompromising word in that sentence, the uncompromising self-custody for everyone, means that we would, for example, not do a hot wallet. We would not do it because it's defeats almost the purpose of the company.
Yeah. So self-custody, we understood, super important. Critical. Yet, there is a harsh reality today after 16 years in crypto and Bitcoin, which is that there is, I think you said, only 15 million hardware wallets sold globally, including the competition. So the ledgers, Trezors of this world. How much is that compared to the number of people who own crypto in the world?
Roughly 2%. So if you think there is, let's say, 600 million people in crypto, that's roughly the estimates, then you would say, yeah, it's around that ballpark would be what we sold and our direct competitors. So for these reasons, I believe there is obviously still a huge opportunity for all of us in the hardware wallet space to attract more people into the true secure self-custody.
Why is this number so low? If self-custody is so critical to anyone holding crypto?
I believe it's because it has been labeled historically as something difficult to manage, that you would almost need to have an engineering degree to be able to manage a hardware wallet, which is not honestly true at all.
It's still a weird experience for someone new. It's still pretty weird.
I think it doesn't have to be. I mean, I would like to say that we are doing everything we can, and we are getting better every day as a company to not make it like weird, as you say. I think it might have been in the past, but really with our new products that almost feel like iPhone in your hand, like a small version of it. The usability is very similar to your, high-end phone. And
take it.
Yes,
that's the new product that you're talking about.
And that's exactly it. So yeah, it is. It feels, like I said, it's as good as your high-end phone in terms of the build quality, the display feel, etc. And these devices are single purpose, which is quite important because there's no, you would say, almost like a bullshit around. It doesn't do anything else. It just stores the private keys. It helps you send transactions, sign transactions, manage your backup, create a backup, etc. And that's why it's so powerful, because it removes as many attacks possibilities as possible by being single purpose, basically. So I would argue the experience is pretty good. We moved quite a bit as a whole industry.
Just, of course, take it. So this is the new Safe 7, right? Trezor Safe 7 hardware wallet. There is a link in the description down below for people who want to order this with the WSH10 promo code for people to get a discount on that. What does really go? Because people use that, then realize, oh, actually it's less hard than I thought. Or maybe some people might say, this is simple, right? But what really goes into the creation of a device like that? What do people not see when they're using that?
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Tell me more about the blood, sweat, and tear.
Of course. So, I mean, there's this saying, hardware is hard. And it really is true, because it's unlike software development, where you can ship new feature within a couple of weeks or even days. Hardware is very much waterfall approach, meaning you cannot iterate fast. You have to plan everything carefully. You have to make sure that everything checks out in the phases of the project as you go, because you have some design validation, engineering validation, production validation phases, and mass production validation phases. So everything needs to be validated well, because if you do one little mistake at the very beginning, then you can burn millions and millions of dollars on something that doesn't work in the end. And so that's quite something. Specifically with this device, we realize we are not even anymore able to work with just local manufacturers and local suppliers to be able to do it, because we would not get the quality. We needed like a top-notch player. And I cannot really give specifics, but I can at least say that we work with now the companies that work with the best consumer electronics brands in the world, which also makes me, by the way, very proud. Getting sort of back to where we started. So So yeah, it has been a multi-year process. 2 years ago, we had first drafts of where we think the design should go. And yeah, since then, hard work all the way to the finish line.
So some people would call that a USB stick, right? Especially like for people who don't really understand crypto, they're like, okay, like what is this? How does it work? Is it like a USB stick? I mean, obviously, there's more and more kind of Bluetooth technology now, but let's simplify that and call it a USB stick to store your crypto. Why does Trezor need 200 people in their company to create and sell a USB stick?
Yeah, so we are a security company. I would start with that. And that's not easy. You need cryptographers, you need hardcore engineers, you need embedded engineers that work on the hardware side of things. So now we have specialized roles for even people that take care of the machines in the manufacturing that upload basically the code or the software into these things, right? So for the whole process, you can think of many teams that need to take care of this, and it's pretty complex. So if it was just a USB stick, you could probably outsource it. You could leave it on some manufacturer. You would just tell them how it's supposed to look, what should be the sort of the housing, the plastics color, maybe some embossed logo or whatever. But here we are talking about pretty advanced security device that has been tested from all different angles to make sure that even if somebody gets hold of this device physically, they would not be able to extract those private keys and those secrets. Therefore, they could not get to your Bitcoin and crypto.
So for people who already used a cold wallet, we all know what the first step is when we install the cold wallet. You receive a piece of paper and you have to write down 12 to 24 words that you need to remember or at least not lose. Otherwise, you'll lose your crypto forever. And you can also not take a picture of these words because you cannot store that digitally. Otherwise, you can get hacked. And anyone who accesses these words can access your wealth or your crypto wealth. This sounds pretty archaic, but it's the norm now, I think used by 300 million people. And this was invented, actually. It's called BIP 39. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it stands for Bitcoin Improvement Proposal.
39?
Yes.
And it was created by the Trezor founders.
Correct.
Can you tell us what people were doing before that to store their crypto wealth?
So before that, you would you can think of private keys as long Wi-Fi passwords, because there are more. And you can imagine if you try to get the Wi-Fi and you get one character or number wrong, well, you will not get the Wi-Fi. And it's the same here. If you mismanage, if you were trying to type it, for example, it's a 52 characters, and there are more formats, but let's say one of the most used is, let's say it's 52 characters. You make one character wrong and it's gone. You don't get access to your wallet. You don't get access to the funds on the blockchain. And that these keys would also be left on servers and computers or some storages that would require really engineering brain and engineering experience to manage. And there were experiences, there were situations where even engineers, actually even recently, they didn't trust the hardware wallets, etc. And they still lost it because it was so obscure and so difficult to manage that they made a mistake and they lost, I don't know how much Bitcoin, but really a lot. So the founders were actually looking for ways to manage all this in very easy but yet secure secure way. So a hardware wallet was one invention to manage it in like with display, etc., in an easy way, but also the backup of those private keys. And that's the thing that 300 million people use today. So that's why this was really important. It was important for the usability.
We're in late 2025, early 2026. So probably 10, 12, 13 years after the invention of BIP 39. And we still have to write down 12 to 24 words on a piece of paper to secure our crypto. How is that possible?
Let me just say I subscribe to the sentiment you're kind of showing here. And I can say we are actually working on improving that as well. So
obviously the question was, what are the Trezor founders or other people doing to graduate from 12 words on paper that I have to hide under my pillow or in my bank safe to something that my mom can use without me having to explain her?
Yeah, fair question, and I agree with the sentiment. So it is a bit obscure, isn't it? Like to write it on a piece of paper. If it's like your life savings, for example. But there's many features around this that you can use that make it actually quite convenient and secure. So we also have a seed storage solution, which we call Trezor Keep Metal. So you don't have to be on paper. You can punch it into steel, and you can even try to burn it, and it doesn't burn. Like it's tested for temperatures, acidity, etc. So that's one solution that we specifically sell as well or have as a product. Another one is something we call multi-share. So you can actually split the seed phrase or these sort of words into multiple shares, and then you can distribute them, for example, in different locations, and then you can set up what is the threshold of the shares to be able to recover your private keys, the master secret.
But it's still physical.
It is still physical, correct?
Because I'm thinking,
but I have more actually.
Yeah, so. And that's your answer. But I'm thinking, right? If Bitcoin and crypto is the new internet and the new monetary system and this new revolutionary technology that is changing the world and is going to revolutionize everything or a lot of things, and that it's all digital, obviously. Some people call Bitcoin digital property. And I go to my parents, I did that in 2019 and they still listened and they still did it, but I go to them and I have all this, belief and, I'm like, this is the thing of the future. And they subscribe to my thesis and my view on the future. And they're like, how do I start? I'm like, take this piece of paper or steal or whatever it is and write it down. And I'm like, wait, is this not something digital? Why do I need something physical? And then hide it somewhere to participate in the future of the internet and monetary systems.
So let me answer in a couple ways. And some are sort of agreeing with the sentiments, and some will try to challenge it a little bit. Maybe let me start with the challenging part. So as we see maybe with AI, right? So the distinguish between what is true and what is not true is increasingly more difficult in the digital world. So I would just give AI as an example where actually the physical, like it would really be hard for me to challenge that you are actually Kevin and that's, it's an imposter here. I see you and I still believe my eyes and I can touch you. Yeah. That was maybe weird comment. I should not touch you, but you know what I mean?
It's okay. We have a meter between us.
I can really believe, I would have to be crazy not to think you're under here.
Yeah.
And I think those actually, again, experiences will be quite relevant in the AI world. So that's just an analogy for that the physical world still makes sense in our lives a lot. Actually, literally is our lives. It's lived in the physical world. But we can, of course, debate whether paper is enough, whether it needs different medium, etc. And that's maybe the part where I wanted to follow up. And we are actually working on ways to improving it as well. And I can tell it's something we didn't really talk about at the launch, but actually this device also features NFC. So we are working on NFC-enabled backup for the device as well.
What does that mean concretely?
So that's the part where I cannot be that much more specific because it's still in the development, and marketing people would not be happy if I give all the details before the launch. But basically, we would like to get rid of the paper eventually. I mean, you can still have the option. That's basically users' discretion. They can use paper, they can use metal, they can use whatever they want or whatever kind of format of the backup. But we will enable it through the NFC technology as well, which in the user experience means that your mom, as you said as an example, would not have to write anything down. She would just tap some sort of token, and
it's not the wallet. It's not the hardware wallet that you would tap. It's like another, instead of a piece of paper, you would have something else.
Exactly.
Because obviously these keys, private keys, seed phrases, papers are unrelated to the hardware wallet. So if you lose the wallet,
they're just backups.
Or if it's broken, you can just take the actual key.
Exactly.
So it's another piece of material or whatever that you would have like NFC on.
Exactly. And that obviously improves the experience as well, because you don't even have to worry about the words. You don't even need to know that there are some words behind this, right? Because in the end, it's just private keys. It's just like piece of information, piece of data that you need to protect. You need to be aware you're self-custodying it. That part is still going to be there, because the only other alternative is that you would give it to somebody. You would give it to a bank, your custodian, whatever. And that's where we say, not a great idea, maybe, because for all the reasons we discussed at the beginning, right? Because banks go out of business, countries fail, etc. So
how is it different from this NFC thing you're telling me about? So what I have here is, the other day I was in Abu Dhabi to interview the co-founder CEO of Bitcoin Swiss, which they're kind of OGs also. 2013 they launched, and he gave me, this is a Bitcoin wallet, physical one. And here I have like a public key and a private key, right? The private key, you need to kind of scratch the thing. How is that different, NFC technology, from scratching the private key part here and then scanning it?
By the way, I like the design. It's nice.
So cool, right?
It is cool.
It's so cool.
It is cool. Well, the hardware wallet manages the pub keys for you. It manages the private keys. It is like way more usable. It's technology that you can connect to your phone. That's the huge difference there, right? And what the NFC backup would do, or the paper does, is it backups the private keys in a format that is disconnected from the hardware wallet itself, in the sense that, it is literally just the backup, right? So maybe we talked about at the beginning, how would I explain to my mom that Trezor does. So it's the private keys. You can make the keys from your home. You can make an extra key. You can give it to somebody. You can keep it yourself. But if you lose one key, you can use another one. So that literally is just a backup of, that you would go to a store and they would give you a backup of your key. So that's how it works. But the design is nice.
You can keep it if you want it.
Really?
It's a Bitcoin. Yeah, it's a physical Bitcoin. It's so good. I love it.
Thanks. And by the way, Bitcoin Swiss, I think I followed them and for a couple of years, and I like their content. I think they were quite good on education. I think in the past. I don't know how today, but
what does the ultimate Trezor, the dream Trezor, or cold wallet look like?
I think you're looking at it today. It literally is our dream. I know it's a cheesy answer, right? Because we just launched it, but it literally is. I believe it is the best, one of the best, if not the best, hardware wallet on the market today. Because we can talk about why I think that, but I really think this is.
Tell me why, and tell me also, be a bit critical and say, actually, in 3 or 5 years, I want to see this thing that it doesn't have today.
Sure. I'm super happy to talk about it because, of course, our roadmaps are busy and there are things that we want to improve already, right? So I would be probably shitty at my job if I wasn't critical. So, but yeah. So, sorry, what was the first part of the question? Oh, what are the features, right?
Yeah.
So what makes it really superior or really good product today?
Just like concretely, obviously, like you said before, 2%, 3% of the market. So it means like there is a lot of room for Trezor, for Ledger, and other brands. But if someone is thinking, should I get a Trezor or should I get a Ledger?
Mm-hmm.
What's your answer? And then you can mention maybe some features or some things that make sense for someone who is new.
Absolutely. So we take the open source approach way more seriously than anybody else in the industry. That's our biggest differentiator.
What does that mean concretely? Why should I care as a user?
It relates so strongly. It correlates with the security standard, basically. I can give you specific examples. So the transparency is extremely important for our industry and for the security, because the security experts around the world can really review everything that you do. And it's like a practice in the whole security industry, not just hardware wallets, but in general, like security about, I don't know, credit cards, like passports, ID cards, whatever you think that you can attack certain chips in certain ways. And the way that sort of don't trust, verify, this famous saying in the industry, is extremely important. Well, the verification is kind of hard if you cannot really look, transparently in what's going under the hood, and when you cannot really talk about it. And I will give you a specific example, because we are getting many years ago. We were not just many, let's say 5 or something years ago. We are getting hell for not using secure elements, which are specialized chips that protect the private keys from physical attacks and all kind of attacks. So we're kind of getting bad reputation from our direct competitors for not using secure elements, because we had a different answer to it. We were like, okay, use passphrase. We can talk about that as well. But anyway, so we are getting this, and so we're like, okay, let's consider it. We can try to implement it into the next hardware wallet that we were building at the time, and we chose a secure element that one of our direct competitors was using as well. And those were the loud ones that were getting us like kind of hell, for not using the secure elements. Our research team had it maybe for a couple of days, their documentation. We had to sign an NDA from the manufacturer to be even able to like work with their documentation, etc. Our researcher looked at it for literally, I think, if not hours, maybe maximum days. And they found instantly like a vulnerability in the chip. They would know how to extract the secret in a very easy way from it. And we were like, wow, this is kind of big, right? Because, I mean, it's like a shitty chip. We don't want to use it, but our competitors are using it as well. And we realized we couldn't tell them because we signed the NDA. And the manufacturer would sue the hell out of us, right? Because that's why the NDAs exist. Like, they protect themselves. But in reality, when you think about it, what it means that there are probably many hackers in the world. There are smart hackers, like in the way that know what they are doing, that are aware of this vulnerability as well. So there are many users in the world that think that they are safe, but they are actually not. And the competitor, the company, would claim they are super safe, etc., but not really knowing there is this an obvious sort of bug in the chip. So we're like, what the hell? So what do we do about this? And we realized, okay, let's all our founders, the founders of Trezor as well, started a new company called Tropic Square, which, by the way, is an abbreviation for truly open IC, like an integrated circuit. And they were like, let's try to build like an open source secure element that would actually be verifiable and would not just be layered in this shitty NDAs practice. And yeah, so one of the reasons why I'm proud, because the first Tropic 01, the first chip of the Tropic Square, is already implemented in this device.
So does this mean that there still is bug or this problem
with the past secure elements?
with the competitors?
Yes, I believe these devices are still in the market, and I cannot tell you. I can say, I mean, there is a problem, but I cannot tell you like what it is. Yeah.
So it means that a lot of the people who own a cold wallet today think that their crypto are safe, but actually it's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's those attacks would have to be, they would need to get hold of the device, etc. Right? So they still have to be quite sophisticated attack. But yes, that's exactly what it is.
Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a crypto thing, to be honest. What's one thing that people should remember from today's conversation?
That self-custody matter. That if you can't tell the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, try to study. Read a Bitcoin standard. I think you gave a great example. I think it really is like an aha moment type of book. I can recommend also Why Countries Go Broke by Ray Dalio. I think that's great as well, because again, it's not about Bitcoin, but it explains it pretty well as well.
If you get angry, read these books.
So I think that's the main message for me.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Matej, for doing this.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the insanely hard work that you put in every day and night to make this industry, crypto, Bitcoin, more accessible and more usable to everyone.
Yeah, whole building here.
And last but not least, thank you for trusting me and the When Shift Happens team, and for supporting us in our mission to make crypto folks and the Web3 industry look more credible to the outside world.
My pleasure.
As you probably know by now, I host some of the biggest names in Bitcoin and crypto on my podcast, but a lot of the best stuff never makes it on air. The Shift newsletter is where I share that raw behind-the-scene alpha, the insights, stories, and lessons straight from my guests that you won't hear anywhere else. If you want the real inside take on Bitcoin and crypto, join my newsletter, The Shift, in the description down below.